Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Eye on Oshkosh. I'm your host, Cheryl Hentz. And on this edition, we've got this particular show is going to be divided into two segments. Later on, I'll be joined by the Oshkosh Fire Department Chief. And we'll be talking about a couple of things, one in particular with him. But on this segment, or in this segment, I'm very pleased to have with us tonight someone who's making his initial appearance here, one of which we hope will be many during your four-year term. With me is our Winnebago County Executive, John Damel. John unseated a 16-year, four-term incumbent, Mark Harris, back in April of this year. So congratulations on your win.
Thank you.
You got 57% of the vote.
Yeah.
And you beat Mark Harris in all but 5 of the county's 43 wards.
Right.
I think that's pretty amazing, really, in and of itself.
Right.
Especially when you're talking about an incumbent who has been here for as long as he was. I mean, 16 years. I realize it's 4 terms, but that's still a long time.
Right.
What do you think it was, John, that sort of tipped voters in your favor?
You know, I think it was the maybe the nonpartisanship, maybe the collaboration that I've always been for. Maybe it was just being able to listen to people. I really got out there and talked to a lot of people. And, you know, as you said, all but 5 wards. Winnebago County is pretty split. You know, it's pretty 50-50. And there's some populations that are pretty blue and populations that are pretty red. And I did well in both.
Yeah.
I think there were some of the red that really liked Mark's fiscal responsibility that voted for him, and there's some of the blue that really liked my community outreach that voted for me. So I'll take it, though.
Yeah, of course. Well, congratulations to you. And, you know, as you were campaigning, John, what did you hear from people? What were their concerns? What were they telling you that they wanted to either see stay the same or see change?
Well, it's the two things that people fear, right? Is change and things staying the same.
Yes.
But I think they wanted something a little bit more bold. They wanted somebody to actually make decisions, to make a difference, to try things. Sometimes you have to try things, and sometimes they're going to fail. But you got to give it a shot. Not a lot of people understood what county government is or what county government does, and it has a lot of things that it does in the community, and it actually can sway things pretty decently. You can. It's big enough to make a big difference, but small enough to move the needle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's been something that I've heard and certainly believed for years, is that, you know, I think that's one of the reasons that you don't have many people running opposed in county board races, is because most people have no idea what the county board does, as you said. You know, you guys in county government don't find the same, I guess, challenges, the same kind of opposition to things that people at the school board level or the city council level may experience. And I think that's just, again, because people don't have any idea what the county board does.
Right.
And so as someone who's now heading up the county, what would you like to do, or what would you like to kind of lead the charge on to see change that makes county government a little bit more visible in front? Not that it's not visible, I don't want to say that.
Sure, yeah.
But makes it more a little bit present in people's minds.
Well, we have to do a better job communicating. Our website, I find hard to navigate. It's not exactly.
I'll second that.
Yeah, it is not user friendly. We don't do a really good job as a county voice. We have some departments doing a good job. I think the sheriff's has a great social media presence. I think our health department now has a good social media presence, but at the start of this pandemic, they didn't have anything. They had to build that as they went. But we really don't. I mean, we really don't have a voice. And for a long time, county government has acted almost like, here's our building. People know where they are. They can come and find us if they need help. We have to do a better job of telling people where we are, what we do, and finding those that need the help. Yeah.
So how do you want to do that? Because, I mean, you guys are split up in different buildings more than I think you've probably ever been.
Yeah.
You know, your office, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't you in an office on Otter Street?
Yep.
In the old Oshkosh by Gosh
Correct.
building where they had part of their factory and part of their offices. Is the building next to the courthouse, is that still being used for county stuff?
Orrin King, yeah.
Okay.
The DA is on the second and third floor. Right now, Corporation Counsel is on the first floor, but there might be a move there.
Okay.
And nobody's in the basement.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that once upon a time, the district attorney was in the beach building, so they're not there anymore.
Sure.
So do we have any presence in the beach building at all?
No, now over the beach buildings in Washington, right?
No, no.
I don't think.
Beach building isn't that where Rise and Grind is or whatever?
Oh yeah, we don't have anything over there. No.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. So that's done.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, well, and actually now that I sit here, I think the beach building is right next to us here.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
pretty sure
pretty
it
close,
is.
yeah,
So, all right, so you're split up in what, 3 buildings?
Well, then if you want to count
If you count
facilities, and then if you want to count
Yeah.
highway, if you want to count the sheriffs, we're all over the place. If you
Yeah.
want to count the Coughlin Center, we're over there as
there's
well.
another
So
one.
yeah.
So how do you want to go about doing a better job of communicating? Because I think it starts at the top.
Yeah.
You know, it just, even on the website, you talk about the website, I had one heck of a time just trying to find your message.
Sure.
And you got to get a picture of you on there.
I keep fighting them on that. I'm trying to not make it
Can't
about
do
me.
it.
I know.
Can't do it.
I know.
You got to have your
I
picture
got. I
out
got to
there.
do it. I got to get over that. Yeah.
You're an elected official now.
That's right. Yep.
So yeah, I really had to search a lot to find your message.
Yeah, it's hard. We have to have a centralized voice. That's one of the reasons I tried to get a comms director. Because we need somebody that handles that for all departments. I mean, it's great that the sheriff has a Facebook page, but that doesn't help the Register of Deeds or the county clerk get a message out. So we need a centralized place where people can go to for messaging and where we can get messages out to people. And that has to be centralized. Right now we have comms people in multiple departments. We have multiple departments that have even started their own web page. Our health department's an example of that. To try to get around the inefficiencies of our web page. So we have to be accessible. We have to do a better job of being visible and being present and being easy to navigate.
Well, I'm going to charge you with that task.
Sure,
And the next time
I'm
you
on
come
it.
on, I want to hear the progress that's been made because
Sure.
you know the city spent a while developing and eventually rolling out a new website. And one of my frustrations, and it was a shared frustration because of those of us who serve on city boards and commissions, because it was rolled out and there were glitches. And I think that, and I've seen that in private sector businesses also, not just public sector. But I just think it's ridiculous when people spend the kind of time and money that they do on either building from scratch or retooling a website, and then they don't test drive it. They don't do a beta test of it and get people in there to test it before they roll it out. And I know you're not going to catch every single thing, but I think you can catch some of these other things. Get a bunch of citizens in there and say, okay, you search for this and you search for that, and let's just make sure that it works, you know?
Well, you know, that's exactly it. And you got to build it the other way. Right now, people build it for their information, then they figure out how to get to people. You have to start with the user. And I went through a lot of that with my restaurant. You know, what I really try to do is first off, we wanted to build a website so it was mobile friendly, because most people are on their smartphones now. They're not in front of a desktop or a laptop. So make sure it's accessible that way. And then we also wanted to make it for maybe an impaired user. You know,
Sure.
Can you, if you're not great at navigating, can you still find it? Like big buttons on a telephone, you know, like
Yeah.
you have to have some accessibility issues. It has to be clear. and it needs to be easily filtered. So
Okay.
you got to build it that way, and then figure out, put your information deeper as you go. So instead of starting at the bottom level, you got to start at the top and
Sure.
work your way down.
So you at one time served on the board of directors for the Oshkosh Chamber of Commerce,
Yep.
and also
Chairman. Yep.
Chairman.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. And also on the board for the day-by-day warming shelter.
And Oshkosh Kids.
Oh, Oshkosh
Yep,
Kids.
yep.
Okay. What is Oshkosh Kids?
Oshkosh Kids Foundation.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
All right.
yep.
All right. Got it. I should have made that connection.
Yeah, all right.
So, other than those three boards and running your own restaurant,
Sure.
Zeroni's, what other kinds of leadership are you bringing to your position?
Collaboration is a big thing. When we can't have silos, we have to be able to work together, and that's both within and outside of the county. So our departments are starting to do a better job of working together and understanding that we can help ourselves, but also doing a better job of getting out there and finding out who our community partners are, like the United Way, for instance.
Sure.
We've always done a fundraiser for them and helped them with their fund drive, but we've never really collaborated on services. These are things we have to do. Now, does that mean that maybe we have a service in the county that a nonprofit actually does, but we stick a lot of money in it, but it's not very effective? And well, if you got rid of that program, but then we were able to hand it off to a nonprofit that can do it better, with better results, with less red tape and strings attached. That's gaining a program, not losing a program. So we have to do a better job within the community of figuring out what everybody does, and then we as a county need to make sure that we focus on our lane. There are certain people out there that we have to service. There's certain people out there that we have to catch. And maybe because we've stretched out what we're doing in the areas that we're not supposed to be doing it, we're not focused enough on those that we can't drop.
Can you give me an example of that? Because I'm not really sure that I completely understand what you're saying.
Sure, certain things are mandated by county government.
By state government too?
Yeah, by state government too. And some things that we do and we waste time that isn't. Here, I'll give you an example. So there was a climate change resolution that came to the board.
Okay.
And we have to absolutely do a better job. We have to be good stewards of the planet. But instead of us drafting a resolution to tell the federal government what they should do, we should have brought a resolution bringing how we can, as a county, be more sustainable. Can we look into solar panels on land that we have? Can we look into energy efficiencies? Are there things that we can do to cut back on our cost?
Yeah.
And that's what we need to focus on, things that we actually change.
So it sounds like the board wanted to just sort of, what so many in government do, they just pass the buck.
Right, and
Pass
tell
it
other
on,
people
pass it
what they
on.
need to do.
Yeah.
Correct, yep.
And that's one of the reasons government doesn't work.
Right.
At some point, you have to take responsibility for
Right.
doing something. Otherwise, there's no point in you being there.
Right.
Right? Not you, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Well, I think those are good things that you've just sort of explained.
Sure.
I want to talk a little bit because you ran into a snafu and kind of got your hand smacked a little bit first, almost right out of the chute.
Just another Tuesday for me. Yeah.
So I think what you found out right off the bat was that running a governmental entity is much different in some respects than running a business that you own and operate. And I want to clarify this, or have you clarify this, because I don't think that it was very clear in the newspaper article. But basically what happened was, very early on, like maybe 2 months or maybe 9-10 weeks out of the chute, you hired a chief of staff and didn't get approval from the county board to do that.
Right.
You also asked for a budget increase in the amount of $144,239 for
Yep.
2 positions, saying you needed 2 assistants. So what I didn't understand really from the article was, were you looking to hire a chief of staff and 2 assistants, or was the chief of staff 1 position and then you wanted a 2nd position? Can you just kind of explain that for us?
Sure. I wanted to bring on a chief of staff, and I did it as a project position early, which was within my rights to do so. problem was
Well, they didn't think so.
Well, I shouldn't have called it chief of staff. We hire project positions all the time in the government. They hired over 20 of them through COVID for the health department. When we have a project, then we hire a project position. But you have to have the money in the budget. So I want to go to do a TO change for the chief of staff and then a budget transfer, which would have made it fine. And it was within their right to cut that off and shut it down, and the position just, there was no money, so then I had to let the person go. But my idea was to bring in a chief of staff to help me with all the goals we have. So I'm a big picture guy, and then he helps me execute the mission, I guess, while keeping on an executive assistant, the person who does the constituent services, and then also to hire on a comms person, so that we could do a better, so we could do better getting our voice out to the people. I know that takes time. It takes a lot of time to develop that. So the two positions I was going for was the chief of staff and then a comms person.
A project position.
Yep, correct. Yep.
Okay. And so that person that you had hired, they were almost immediately then let go?
Well,
what happened there?
There was budget for the project position up until the end of June, and then let go. And then John Fink, who was in that position as the constituent services, the executive assistant, if you would, was there from Jane Vandehei all the way through Mark. So 24 years of experience, I didn't want to lose. I wanted him to keep him in there for counsel as well.
Is he still there?
Nope, he actually retired. And he retired because he understood how government worked. He knew that I wouldn't get it through. He knew it wouldn't get passed. And he told me the only way you're going to bring him in to help you is if I retire and you hire him in my spot. And I didn't want that to happen because I didn't want to lose John Fink's experience. And then after the budget, he offered twice to retire, and I told him no. Like, they don't get to force you out. Like, this is what the three of us are going to work on this together. You know, young blood, old blood, and then me. And then after the budget ran out, and he said, "Well, I'm going to retire to make room for your position," and which I thought was honorable, and I still talk with him on the phone, so I still have his counsel and his advice. Yeah,
John is a nice guy, and he knows everything.
Sure does.
And I was surprised to hear you say that he was gone because you were actually supposed to be on this program. What was it? A couple months ago, or a month and a half ago, something like that. And had a situation where we needed to reschedule you. And John's the one I dealt with. And so now I'm hearing he's gone. That's a blow to me. Because I'm so accustomed to going to John.
It's a blow to me too, Yep.
Wow. Well, so I think that county board supervisors had some heartburn with your choice of person for the chief of staff because you hired a Republican lobbyist. And
not technically, but
well, in a way they are. They lobbied for a person who ran for state school superintendent,
which is nonpartisan.
But they are a Republican lobbyist, and so you kind of got your hand smacked a little for that choice too. Would it be when you're hiring these positions, John? Wouldn't it make more sense and certainly appear to be much more fair and even-handed if you advertised for the position, interviewed people and screened their talents? I mean, maybe this guy, I've got his name here somewhere and I can't find it right off the bat, Ethan Hollenberger. Had you interviewed, maybe you would have found someone who was more qualified for the position than
that was always the plan.
As
a project position is not the permanent position. And then you do the TO change, and then you have a chief of staff, and then you absolutely have to advertise an interview, which I did. I mean, when I had the executive assistant open up, I interviewed a few people to come in, and he was the one that had the experience. Now, we have to get over the partisanship. The one thing that this kid did have is he had a working relationship with our legislators in Madison, which is crucial when we need to get stuff done.
It is.
We have to be able to get into that immovable mountain, if you would. But he also had the same kind of servant heart that I did. I mean, here's this guy that grew up in poverty in Winter County, and he wanted to come back and serve his hometown. And he had worked for the county executive in Washington County, and he also worked for the county executive in Milwaukee County. So he has plenty of county experience.
Sure.
So, you know, I thought just looking at partisan and judging people off of the bosses he worked for, not him, just off of the bosses, is exactly the type of America we need to get away from. You know, we need to look at people of what you bring to the table, what are your assets, what do you know?
Yeah.
And I don't, it doesn't bother me if you're a Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or Green Party or whatever it is.
Or no party.
Or no party whatsoever.
You're
like
still
what?
a resident
Yeah.
and a
What can you
taxpayer
bring?
in one way or another.
Yeah, and we have to start being able to bridge the ideas of all sides together, because that's where most America lives.
Right.
Right. And I've used this analogy a bunch. And I'm not arguing numbers in the last presidential election, so please don't get it
we're
wrong.
not going there.
But if you look at the numbers in the paper as they are now, 76 million people voted for Trump, 82 million people voted for Biden, but 84 eligible voters voted no confidence. They didn't vote at all. Like, that's the segment we need to focus on. The popular vote are the ones that have given up. And they're the ones that need to be listened to, and they're the ones that'll take solutions from any side of the aisle. We have to.
And you know,
It's tough.
I'll be real honest with you, John. You know, I had an aunt once upon a time, or as some people call it, aunt, and she never voted.
Sure.
And that bothered me.
Yeah.
As someone who does this, who has run for office, for different types of positions, who has served her community in many ways, that bothered me that she would never vote.
Yeah.
And I said to her, why? Why are you not getting out there and voting? And she said, because it doesn't make any difference. And I said, but it does.
It does.
It does, but
Especially
I
on the
couldn't-
local level.
I know, but I could never convince her of that. And I don't think that's a shortcoming with me. I don't think anyone could ever have convinced her of that.
I registered somebody who was 72 years old who voted for the first time for me.
Is that
I
right?
registered over 35 people to vote for the first time ever.
That's fantastic.
It's great.
That's wonderful.
I mean, that was one of the biggest victories for me. That was the most satisfying thing of my entire campaign, is getting people to be engaged and getting them to wake up to local politics. Like, I mean, this is the needle we can actually move. You can make a change. You can listen to a neighbor and actually affect their life that year.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And I want to go back for just a second, because I just had a thought here when you talked about the climate change thing that the county board just sort of sloughed off.
Yep.
What they should be doing, and hopefully you'll be able to encourage them to do something here, but if they want to make some change too, and they're tired of some of these mandates, then what they should be doing is petitioning Madison to either give this county back more of its shared revenue,
Right.
or petition them to find a way to eliminate unfunded mandates.
Yeah.
You can't put mandates on a local government and say, now you find the money where to do it.
Yep.
Because that's unfair.
Right.
So either give back more of the shared revenue, or take away the unfunded mandates, and you at the state level take care of these problems.
Right.
Because you're the one sitting there with the money.
Yep.
And so talk to them, John. See
Right.
what,
We're trying. We are trying. And I want to go back to the environment for a little bit too.
Yeah,
There's
please.
a lot of initiatives out there that we can really be doing. No-till farming could make a huge impact. And if we can just convince people and show people, and we're doing studies this year, and hopefully we can see some really good results. But it's so much better for soil health, and it keeps the phosphorus more in the field, and there are things out there that we can look at, that we could partner up, that we can make it economically viable for these farmers to do, that make a difference. And these are the things that we should be focused on. There's so many things like that.
And these are things that could go on the county's website too.
Right.
That help to communicate more,
Yep.
educate the people more. So, all right, you've got about 4 months under your belt so far of a 4-year term.
Yeah.
What have you learned so far, and what have been your biggest challenges so far?
Well, I've learned that we have a lot of amazing people working for county government. We have a lot of amazing department heads that have had a lot of ideas. I've also learned that we need to understand what our roles are, and that goes to the county board, and that goes to me, and not trying to be a dictator, but a good board understands that you stick to policy and budget. And you allow your department heads to run operations. There's a difference between a board of directors and a CEO and the VPs. The CEO and the VPs handle operations. They will bring you policy decisions, and then you say, yes, that's a good decision, or no, that's a bad decision, and we're going to fund it, or we're not going to fund it. But when we have a board getting involved in operations, it gets convoluted.
Yeah.
So in order for me to really be able to do my job as the CEO, I guess, in the county is to have that working relationship with my department heads, followed by the direction of the county board. But they got to let us handle operations so we can start working together. Because if a committee is against another committee, then you're almost turning a department against another department.
Yeah.
And we need to have a shared mission. We have to be able to work together. So I guess one of the things I was most surprised about was just how siloed we were. But those silos are coming down.
Okay, well, that's good.
And it's amazing. And I don't think I've had a department head meeting in over a month, maybe 2 months, where we've actually talked about operations. It's been about team building and getting to know each other. And Sue Ertmer, our county clerk, was the prom queen. And I think that's amazing.
Good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Right.
Sue is another one who's a wonderful employee.
Awesome.
She's been here for many, many years.
She knows her stuff.
And I hope she will be here for many more years to come.
Yep.
I know that one of the things that you wanted to do was to meet with all 36 of the county board supervisors. You know, that's a much smaller task than what used to be. You're from here originally. You, I'm sure, well remember the time when we had 72 county board supervisors in Winnebago County. That's crazy.
Right.
Well, wait, did we have 72?
I think we were at the max once upon a time. That was before I paid attention to any
now
of it.
I'm kind of second guessing
38
myself
was
here.
what I remember. 46 before that, then 38, and then we went down to 36.
I might be wrong in what I just stated.
Yeah,
Maybe
it could
we
be.
have 72 counties.
We have 72 counties. That's
Okay, then never mind.
Right.
Forget that. But we're still down from what we used to have
Right.
in this county as far as supervisors go.
I've done a good job of meeting just
How many
about
have you
all
met
of them.
with? Just about all of them? Okay.
There's 2 that I haven't had a one-on-one sit-down or conversation with.
Okay.
Yep.
And what kind of message are you hearing from them? What are they telling you?
Well, I want to hear what makes them tick. I wanted to hear why they ran for office. I wanted to hear what they're passionate about. And really, that's it. Is just finding out who we are. And there isn't a single person on that board that said, I hate people.
Yeah.
Not one. We're all passionate about people. We're all passionate about our communities. We're just passionate in different ways. But if we can just see that we agree that we're at least passionate, we can work on that.
Sure.
You know, we can work on that.
Well, I think one of the problems with the county board of supervisors is that, and I'm not trying to be, ageist here because I'm not.
Okay.
But most of what we have on that county board is what we've had forever. And it's a lot of retired people who have the time to be able to attend the meetings that are held during the day. And that alone sort of precludes younger people from running because they can't make those meetings. Now, the county board meeting, of course, meets on a Thursday evening.
Tuesday.
Or Tuesday, I'm here on Thursdays.
Yep.
I'm getting so confused.
Right.
See what you're doing to me, John? So anyway, it just, I don't know. We have to, I think, and the city has the same issue.
Sure.
You know, people who are older and either retired or, like myself, self-employed, who have the time to be able to meet during the day. We got to find another way to have meeting times when people who work a typical 8 to 4, 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job can be part of this government.
This comes down to education. We have that ability. After every single election, the committees are decided. The committees meet on the very first meeting. They get to set up the time they meet. They have that ability to flex it into an evening time.
But do they really want to flex it, John, if they're the ones who have been there forever and they've been on the county board forever, and they're continuing to meet when it works for them, because they are retired and they don't have obligations other than perhaps county meetings. So what's the incentive for them to meet at another time? There isn't any that I see.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. I can't really argue that.
Well, at least I'm winning something.
Yep.
We've actually agreed on a lot of things.
Right,
here.
sure.
I find you to be a very likable guy.
Right.
And this is the first time we've ever met.
Sure, yeah.
And so I do find you to be very cordial, very likable. So I'm looking forward to having you back.
Yeah.
And we're down to just like another 5 minutes or so here. I want to just touch on a couple things here. We're in the process of a redistricting situation right now. At
Very
that
condensed.
time, the size of the county board can be changed.
That's passed.
It did.
Yep,
Okay.
that's not happening. They already voted that. They voted to keep it 36.
So see, the county website needs to be updated then.
Correct.
So you got to work on that.
I know. I'm trying.
Okay, so it's still at 36.
Still at 36.
Have the
Yep.
districts been drawn already?
We got them drawn, and it was a challenge this year. Normally, we get the census data in April 1st. We didn't get it until just about September, so I'm going to say...
Because of COVID, probably?
Yep. Late August is when we finally got the numbers. So we took a 180-day process, and we were condensed into 80 days. Now, there was a bill out there. The state had a bill to extend the process. Governor Evers vetoed that. I'm not sure if I'm mad with that decision. It needed to be done before December. We can get it done. We have to work harder. That's okay. We have to get it done.
Right.
But the process itself has been really quick. Normally, it can go from the board back to GIS and planning, and then back to the board, and they can make little adjustments. But it's really been condensed this year, and it's an operation. It's a function of the board and our JPS committee, Judicial Public Safety.
I know that when we talk about redistricting, one of the big arguments is always gerrymandering.
Yep.
And that's something that we have absolutely got to do away with.
Yep.
How did that play into drawing the lines for the districts?
Perfect. We had our GIS go off we let them draw the lines, and as soon as they were done with it, they showed it to me. I said, great, get it to the supervisors, and a half hour later, I want you to release it to the public. So nobody thinks that we're holding on to these things behind our doors.
Okay.
And they came up some really great options, I think. And right now we have 2 options left that the county board has to vote on next Tuesday. And both of them did a really good job of making sure that we were following municipal boundaries. Now, the municipal boundaries are a mess.
Yeah.
There are town islands, there are city islands, there are junkets, there's all kinds of things. But we really wanted to make sure we were keeping communities together. So we wanted to make city was voting with city, and rural areas were voting with rural, so we have less amount of ballots to track.
Okay.
Different types of ballots to track.
Budget time.
Yep.
We're approaching budget
We
time. When will the public hearing be held on the budgets?
Well,
Or on the budget?
the board hearings will be in the first week of November. So end of October, first week of November, somewhere around there. We're planning to roll everything up so we have the executive budget done, which will be released soon. And I do want to do that publicly. It's another thing that I want to do as a public hearing to kind of explain some of my decisions. And that was really hard. We do not have a strategic plan in the county. So for me to actually make for me to make budget decisions was all based off of gut feelings and what the department heads were saying. We have no way to measure which programs are priorities and which aren't. All things that need to change. So I'm looking forward to working with UWO actually to come in and help us develop a strategic mission, a strategic plan that's going to be a top priority for me, with input from my department heads, my board, and the community, and the stakeholders in the community.
How much is that going to cost to bring in the university?
Well, it's going to cost us a couple $1,000s. Fortunately, it is. We are able to use ARPA money to do that.
Okay.
To really show, I don't want people thinking that I'm making decisions here in the county based on what I feel. It's really, I'm trying to take it in the direction of what the community tells me to.
Okay. So with respect to the budget, Are you making recommendations that something be cut, that something be added? What can we as taxpayers look forward to, possibly, because I know the board has to vote on this,
Sure.
and there's hearings that have to be held. But, I mean, what do you think we can look forward to come tax bill time in December?
Well, if all goes as planned, our taxes will go down, and we haven't lost a single program. Matter of fact, we are bumping up a program. I'm really focused on the Connect program and making sure that we're tackling addiction right now. That's a top priority for me. So right now we're tightening the belt and trying to get that tax levy down a little bit while we are focused on serving our people.
Okay,
You can
excellent.
do both.
I had a bunch of other questions, but we're
Sure.
running low on time here. I just want to ask one thing
Sure.
yet. The city has a mask mandate in its city buildings.
Yep.
We're exempt because we're sitting here,
Yep.
but everyone else is masked, and we are when we walk out of here. The school district, of course, has a mask mandate in effect.
Oshkosh and Neenah.
Where is the county at?
We do not have a mask mandate.
Okay.
It is up for our other governments to do that. What is right for the Oshkosh School District, I stand by their decision. I mean, they have a right to do what's best for them. But their decision doesn't have the right to dictate Winneconne's decision.
Right, but I'm asking as far as the county government, the county-owned buildings.
Our buildings?
Yes.
Our policy is that you have to have a mask in your pocket, and if somebody asks you to put the mask on, then we ask you to respect that. But other than that, we're consenting adults, and if a group is okay working without the mask, they can do that. Right now, if you walk in our health department, you'll find everybody masked up. If you walk in...
Because they know better. They're
Because they
smart.
know. Right.
They're smart.
Right, but we have guys in the highway that aren't going to, and that's okay too. So we have to make sure that we're doing the best that we can. That we're still making sure that there are other things that we can mitigate with too. We can keep social distance and wash our hands and stay home when you're sick.
Yes.
Please stay home when you're sick.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You know, this will be, I hope, the first of many appearances on the show.
Absolutely.
I don't think I beat you up too badly.
No, you're great.
And I, like I said before, I'm not just blowing smoke. You're a very likable guy.
Well, thank you.
I would be hard pressed to sit here and say I don't like that guy.
I have 4 daughters at home and a wife, so I am accustomed to admitting when I'm wrong and understanding that I can make mistakes.
All right, excellent. Well, thank God for those women in your
That's
household.
right. That's right.
And thanks to you also, because it takes a big man to admit
does.
that they've made mistakes. So
Right.
thanks so much for being here. And
Thanks
we're going
for
to have
having
you
me.
back again
All
real
right.
soon.
Awesome.
All right, we're going to take a real short break. When we come back, Chief Mike Stanley from the Oshkosh Fire Department will be joining us. We'll be right back.
Problems, the ones nobody talks about at cocktail parties. We go looking for them. No matter the obstacles, no matter the odds, we surround a community's most critical problems, and we fight. United Way fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. Will you?
Nearly half of children with autism wander away from safe places, such as their home or school. If you ever see a child walking alone, remember the 3 S's. Stop to help, seek assistance from police, stay until they arrive. If a child with autism is missing, immediately search places that pose the most danger, such as nearby water and busy streets. To learn more, visit missingkids.com/aware.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for help with food, healthcare, and other resources.
211, how can I help you?
Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211, get connected, get help.
Roll over.
over. Chance high five. All right.
When you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique.
And your mother and... I am totally a hot person. Right, guys? Thanks for being honest.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org.
And welcome back to the second half of Eye on Oshkosh. I am still Cheryl Hentz, and I'm joined now through the magic of television by our fire chief here in the city of Oshkosh, Mike Stanley. Thanks for being here, especially on real short notice. But there was something that I wanted to actually have you talk about tonight, and so that was why I wanted to have you on. You've been keeping busy?
Very. Thanks for having me tonight.
Of
and
course.
It's so good to be back again. It's been
Yes.
a long time since I've seen you. So
It's been a while, and you tossed me some suggestions. One in particular, and I'm going to have to find that. I know I saved the email, but you had suggested that I contact somebody to come on the show, and because we weren't taping shows at all last year, well, we shut down in March like everything else, and we didn't come back until, I don't know, June, I think, of this year, something like that.
it's been a long stretch.
Yeah, and so I never got to contact those people, but I want to make sure that there's still somebody that you think that I could, that the city could benefit from by having them on, so I'll run that past you. But one of the reasons that I wanted to have you come on is later this year, you're going to be having, in November, I'm going to have you on for the full hour.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about fire prevention, other things fire-related, the food and toy drive that your department always has. So that's a lot of good stuff that we can talk about then. And we're also going to talk about results of the thing that you're having coming up that I'm having you on tonight to talk about. This is, and for the lack of knowing what else to really call it, I'm calling it a listening session. But you guys at the department have invited different stakeholders from the community to participate in this, and I'm very honored to have been invited by you guys to come on, because it's not a public type meeting. So tell folks what you're doing, how you decided what people you were going to invite, and what you're hoping to learn.
Sure, absolutely. Like we were just talking about, that most of the past year has been focused on COVID, but we're pretty proud we've been able to accomplish a lot of other things. So we continue to advance the organization, make the department more capable and ready to respond to lots of different types of emergencies than we were used to. Earlier this year, we were very proud that for the first time in our almost 170-year history, that we were rated as a Class 1 fire department by the Insurance Service Office.
Oh.
So we're one of only 8 fire departments in the state and under 400 in the country that have reached that highest level of fire protection that we can provide to our community. So, very prestigious honor for us. I'm very, very happy that we were able to make that upgrade so that, it also can impact people's homeowners and business insurance as well. So we want to continue to further that look at how do we move into the future. So the next step for us is strategic planning. And you referenced we're going to be doing that in November. That we're going to have some facilitators come in, work with our community and work with our internal customers, the members of our department, to really redefine our mission, our vision, our values, our goals, because it's been a long time since those have been addressed. And that's going to be our guiding principles as we move into the next several decades, hopefully. But certainly a plan for the next 5 years of how are we going to grow and evolve in our service delivery and our capabilities for the community. And you hit on the first day is going to have stakeholder involvement. That we certainly think we know what we would like to do,
Sure.
and what we think the community needs, but we really want to get a wide cross section of our community leaders, our people that are active in the community, the customers that we serve and interact with, in neighboring municipalities. How do we really get that guided input of this is what our expectations are, what our evolving needs are, and how do we morph into that agency? So as we have so many different evolving issues that the fire department may be involved in. You look at the prominence of opioid usage and overdoses. How can we involved in preventing that? Do we need to look at being involved in social work and mental health response in a different capacity than what we have now? That certainly as this pandemic continues, and if there are other emerging threats like that, how do we meet those needs of the people that are going to call us for help?
So with opioid use and overdoses and so forth, other than your paramedics, how else, and first responders, are they both interchangeable, those two terms?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how, other than them, how would the fire department be involved in something like that? Or is that what you're trying to find out?
A lot of that's what we're trying to find out.
Okay.
We've been working with some other agencies in the community that have been focused on how do we gather that data and how do we respond to the data of the issues in the community. So one of the things we're working on very aggressively right now is, I'm sure you've heard of Narcan, that is what wakes people up. Right? That when we identify someone that either we've woken up with Narcan or that may potentially have the need for Narcan, how can we leave it behind? Leave those same kits that are available at Walgreens and CVS. How can we leave that behind so that, if there is another incident, people there, loved ones, friends, whoever is present, that bystander can give that Narcan and not delay treatment.
Can I just interrupt you for a second
Absolutely.
there? Because I think about that, and I know it's important to, wake people up, as you said, if they've overdosed. But leaving something behind, would that not, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here, would that not encourage people to be even more loosey-goosey with the drugs and use them as much as they did before, knowing that there's something there that can be used to bring them back to life, if you will?
Sure. That's a concern that we've discussed with all our community partners that are working on this project. So not only will we just leave behind the medication, but we'll leave behind some resources for how do they get help. How do family members or loved ones help them get help, and how do they get help to support what they need to support that person as well. So we want to make sure that we're leaving a resource as well as a life-saving device.
Yeah. It's important too, and I know that you know this. It's important that people understand that Narcan only works X number of times, and after it's been used to bring someone back so many times, I don't know what the body does, if they build up kind of an immunity to it or whatever, but at some point that Narcan's not going to work.
And some of the many issues is that Narcan will only work with a opioid. So if you've overdosed on Valium, it won't do anything.
Yeah.
Then as people fight that addiction and they build more and more tolerance to the narcotic, they're going to take more narcotic. And then the dosage of Narcan will not counteract that extreme amount of narcotics. So, it is a very dangerous evolution. And if you misdiagnose and it's not, an overdose, they're having a diabetic reaction or some other type of medical emergency, that it's not going to do anything for them.
Yeah.
So,
Lots of things to think about and consider, and gosh, sometimes just like with our police and our sheriff's department, you have to make decisions split second. And I get so frustrated when people, they say, well, why didn't you guys do this? Or why didn't you do that? Or, they don't understand. You've got a split second to make a decision. Mm-hmm. And you can only rely on your training and your best guesstimate, and most of the time it works out. Every once in a while, something's not going to work for whatever reason.
Yeah, you're exactly correct. And when we do find areas in public safety where we can improve, we look at those different cases, look at that incident. We call it a hot wash or an after action, debrief of what happened, what could we do better, what could we learn, is there a training gap that we need to train on, so that we can adapt and overcome some of those challenges around that split-second decision making.
Okay, so as I mentioned, this is this little summit, if you will, this listening session is something that I'm going to be participating in, and that's I've got the date on my calendar. I don't have it right in front of me here. I think it's in, isn't it in early November?
Yeah, I believe it's November 9th.
Yeah, there you go, that's right. And then I'm going to have you on later in November. I think it's the third Thursday in November. Mm-hmm. And we'll be able to talk about some of what you learned in that session. So other than what we're doing on the 9th, and that's not open to the public, is there any portion of anything that is going to be open to the public where they can talk to you guys and tell you what they think? Or is this something where people should be contacting those of us who are attending this on the 9th, and we can carry their message forward?
Yeah, and that's really the direction we got from the facilitators or from the Center for Public Safety Excellence. That they said they have to be able to manage all this data, and input. So that's what they are encouraging us to do, is to have people give both externally and internally. They will have the participants on the 9th, so community folks that are interested can give input, but we're not going to be able to have our whole department there for 3 days.
Right.
Take them out of service to all participate. So there's going to be a diverse representation of our workforce there as well. So if I know you're going to be there and I'm on duty that day, I can give you, my firefighter friends, some info or some requests that you can advance for me. So similar model both with our internal and external customers.
So we'll be given things on the 9th then, Chief, to hand out to people? Is that, am I understanding that correctly, or am I off base?
Yeah, that's not from my understanding of, the two facilitators are going to take you through some structured questions and try to find, get to the root of the problem. You only have to come for an hour and a half rather than 8 hours or 3 days. So,
but I get lunch.
We all get lunch. Yep, everybody gets lunch. They said that really helps with getting a good turnout. Mm-hmm. So
is that right?
Right. Which comes as no surprise. We're all more interested in going to a meeting if there's lunch. Or
well, actually, during a 90-minute thing, I probably wouldn't do lunch, but this is over the lunch hour, so right. I'm grateful that you guys will be doing that. So. Okay, and with our time running a little bit short, we may as well talk about a couple of. Well, is there anything else that you want to say about that? I guess
I'm here to answer questions. So if you want to switch gears, I'm happy to do that.
Sure. So one of the things that is going to be happening before you come back in November is that in October we will be changing time periods again, where we're going to fall back. And we're going to set our clocks back an hour. And that's always a good time to have people check batteries in their smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. Even if they're hardwired into a system, if they have battery backup.
Correct.
It's good to test those batteries. And I don't know if people know it, but not only is a smoke detector, required in homes, and smoke detectors on every floor, but carbon monoxide detectors are required also by the state of Wisconsin. Do you know offhand how many need to be in a property, or do you know that offhand?
Yeah, for carbon monoxide detectors, we usually recommend one high, one low.
Okay.
So top of the house, and then lower in the house. Because it's lighter than air.
In the basement?
Yeah.
I would think.
So if you're
because that's where your mechanicals are.
Exactly correct. So that that'll be your early indication. Then the one higher, especially where you sleep, is your later indication that it's rising up through the house, because it is, you said, carbon monoxide's lighter than air. So not having something at the upper levels, you run a significant risk if you don't hear the one in the basement, or if it comes from some other source like your car in your garage.
Yeah. And I know that you guys are, well, I think all of our core services in this city are very good. All emergency services, whether it's police, fire, the sheriff's department, whatever. I remember many, many years ago, gosh, probably 20 years, if not longer, my CO detector was going off, and I felt fine. I felt perfectly fine. My dogs were acting fine, and I thought, well, maybe this thing's just malfunctioning. But I called you guys anyway, and I just said, don't use the sirens because that's embarrassing, but can you just come out and check things out? And you guys were right there, and you checked everything out. You made me feel, okay, I'm good. I'm good to go to sleep tonight. I'm good to be functioning around the house during the day, and the pets are all going to be good too. And so I think that people should not, we don't want to see you guys being, used unnecessarily, but when there's true issues of possible concern, I don't think that people should be afraid to call you.
No, that's what we're here for. I mean, that's why the fire department exists. We don't really have any other purpose other than to respond to emergencies and take care of people and meet the needs and concerns of those that we're serving. So, you bring up a great point of carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it. And then once you get to that point where you're feeling sick, you've had a significant exposure, you're probably going to end up in the hospital.
Right.
You're at least going to get a trip to the hospital. That's, we'll bring in detectors that are, incredibly sensitive, much more so than the one that you have in your house, and really get to identify what's the level is, where it's coming from, so that we can make informed decisions about whether you need to go to the hospital, or if you're okay we'll just stop the leak, and stop the source and ventilate your house, and you're fine to stay here.
Yeah, I know that you can't push a particular brand, but for people and people who live in apartments, they don't have a choice of what brand is put into their apartments. But if someone owns a home, do you have a recommendation as to a type of smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector? And again, not brands, but the type, whether it's a plug-in unit, whether it's something hardwired in, a combination smoke and CO detector, or should they be separate? Do they work better when they're separate? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we recommend the newer models of smoke detectors are a combination smoke detector, CO detector. They're generally good for 10 years, and you don't have to replace the battery.
No.
So you don't run the battery lasts you 10 years, so that you don't have to remember what you brought up earlier, which is so great about change your clock, change your batteries.
Yeah.
That you're good and set for 10 years. That, for a standalone CO detector, that, we really recommend the ones that plug in, so that they are backed up by electricity rather than just the battery. It's important that they have both. And they typically will have a number. They should be showing 0, and when it alarms, it should give you a number, and that tells us what that level is.
Okay.
And it'll also tell you if the battery's low, as well.
Excellent.
So, it has that readout on there. So,
okay.
But
excellent.
Available at any hardware store, Walmart, anything like that.
All right. Very good. One other thing, I guess we don't even have time for that. They're telling me to wrap up, so I will ask it the next time when you're on. So,
absolutely.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming, and especially on real short notice. But I wanted to get this information out to folks about this little listening session, if you will. So
certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming. So that's going to do it for us. Thank you to my guest, John, from earlier, and to Chief Stanley here. And thanks to the crew, as always, and especially thanks to you. We will see you next time. Until then, keep your eye on us. We've got our eye on Oshkosh.